Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. I'm your host, Big Les. Welcome back to another episode of The Drawing Board. Make sure if you're watching this on the YouTube to subscribe. Obviously getting really good growth and views at the moment. We're doing really well on the YouTube at the moment. So make sure you add to that. Make sure you subscribe, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. Make sure you also go and follow the Instagram. The link is always going to be in the description of the YouTube. If you don't find it, go to another video. I'm sure that you'll find it in one of those. Got great content coming out over the next few days. A bunch of Origin content, a lot of rumors around the NRL as well, which come out on the YouTube exclusively. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to that. Follow the Instagram with some great content. For more exclusive content, go to the TikTok. We react to news on the TikTok before we react to it on anything else. But more importantly, let's get stuck into the great content we've got coming up right now. The Drawing Board, our SuperCoach and NRL Fantasy show. We go through our trades for the upcoming week and obviously review what the week before looked like as well for both Fantasy and SuperCoach. It's the only page out there doing it for both NRL Fantasy and SuperCoach as well. Let's kick off with Fantasy in what was a quite tough week last week. Obviously, this final score being 6-6-1 for us. Not the best. Obviously, a few players out. Hamoli Olakawatu coming off with injury during the game. We had, obviously, who else was out? I'm just trying to think who else was out in this side. We have Bostock, obviously, out with the bye, but he was still in our 17 because we didn't have another outside back on the bench. We had Kerr, KO Weeks, Max Plath, Isaiah Katoa, and Dominic Young all out with the bye, which really hurt us. Just a lot of players out, and we really had to scramble. Only had 13 players playing in our NRL fantasy side, which really hurt us. 6-6-1 for 13 players is not bad. It does give me a bit of confidence going into this week, where we do have 16 players back. Obviously, all of our Bulldogs guys, Salmon, Hughes, Reid Marnie, Josh Curran, and Jacob Kiraz all out of the side going into this week, which is a little bit of a challenge for us going into round 15. In terms of our trades this week, Lachlan Galvin obviously succumbing to that hand injury. He is out this week. Abby Coruscant and Aiden Caesar returning in the halves, which means that we are having to make a big change here. Galvin comes out. I don't know when he's going to be back. I don't know if he is going to be back for at least another 4 weeks. That hand injury that he's been playing with is quite severe. I'd be giving him a few weeks off just to recover from that. Regardless, I'm going to be taking him out of my side. Atkinson comes out for me as well. Obviously, the Sharks have made it clear that Braden Trindle and Nico Hines, the halves pairing moving forward, it means that Atkinson won't be playing for the next few weeks. So Atkinson comes out of the side for me. I'm not going to be having him in my team, especially in the starting back line if he's not going to be playing. So he comes out. And then in terms of guys that I've got coming in, big play for myself. I've gone with Nick Meaney and Tamale Martin to come into the side this week. Nick Meaney, just in terms of the bye week, obviously Melbourne, it's very advantageous to go them. It's not going to be, they are going to be playing in the next 2 bye rounds. So you are going to have a guy like Nick Meaney for a while. He's got a 42 average, got 59 the other day, and it was a big game for him. And he will be playing on the bench for most games for me. So to get 42 to 59 points on the bench each week, and especially I think he's going to have some big games over the next few weeks with a few of the Origin stars out yet again, and obviously a few stars out at the moment. I think he is going to have some big weeks. Obviously, goal kicking as well is a big thing for me. Nick Meaney does come into my side, and I'm sure he might be a bit of a pod play for a few other people for both Fantasy and SuperCoach as well. Now, the other guy, Tamale Martin, again, very advantageous around the bye round. I think that Tamale Martin is a pretty decent in. He's averaging 42.3 at the moment, got 65 on the weekend. He has been getting decent points being in this side, obviously at 7. He does move back to the 6 with Sean Johnson, which could change things, but I do think he's going to keep that score up. The fact that he's kept that spot for me means that he is going to keep that score up. Interesting to see he's playing on a whole new side now. I'll go back over to the left. So keen to see how he goes, but he just does his role every single week, and to average 42, just playing your role, playing simple footy, I think that we are going to reap the rewards of Tomato Martin, especially with the advantages that come with him not playing. With him playing, with him playing during those big two next bye rounds, I think that Tomato Martin coming into this side is going to be very advantageous for us. And having good, solid players that average around 40 to 50 coming off the bench, I think is really solid for me. And it's good cover. I haven't had the best cover myself, obviously, in the bye rounds to have Meaney and Martin to come into the back line, into the halves. I think it is absolutely outstanding cover. Hamoli Olakau'atu, he is on injury watch. He has been named in this side. Obviously goes to Origin anyway, but he'll come out for another guy to go into the back row, most likely a Josh Curran or a Jamin Salmon, who we've got currently in the bye. He is on injury watch for me. I probably will have to make a big trade, or I'll probably just hold, to be honest. If Hamoli Olakau'atu doesn't play, or if he is injured going into this game, injury plus obviously out during the Origin period anyway, it might not be worth it, the 691K mark. But yeah, look, he's going to be on a bit of a watch for me. We'll have to wait and see what happens. To be honest, I think I will just play with the 15 men and have him out. But as I said, we'll determine that, and obviously we'll get some late mail on the Instagram if something does happen there. Carl Lawton is someone else that I've been trying to get out of my side for the past few weeks. I've been really trying to get him out through trades, but I've had injuries or, not filling spots. Happy to have him in this week, though. Obviously, Reid Marnie has the bye, so my main hooker not in there. We don't have any other backup hookers, and I think that I've been a bit guilty of bringing a few of these Bulldogs guys in, but a lot of middle forwards mostly. I mean, Sam Hughes, Josh Curran, Jamin Salmon, and then obviously Josh Kerr on my bench as well, all forwards, whether that be middle or edge. Over the next few weeks, we only have 9 trades left, so we're in a bit of a scary territory here. We're going to have to save those trades, but at the same time, even out this bench, get a few more hookers. We'll get one more hooker, I think. I think I'd also like to just get a few more outside backs and maybe some more centers. I think a center off the bench is something that I do need because I don't have one other than Meaney at the moment. Just more cover all round for me. The hooker, though, another hooker off the bench, I think is a big one for me. So, we'll have to wait and see with that one. But confident going into this week. As I said, 661 with 13 players is pretty decent. Having 15 players, 15 players, 16 players, I should say, only Reid Marnie being out, but sitting there on the bench anyway. I am quite confident going into this week. Hopefully we have a pretty decent score. Let's go over to SuperCoach. All right, let's get straight into the SuperCoach. Our score from last week was 1,068, a massive, massive score considering having a few guys out. Carl Lawton was our starting hooker. Had a few big trades, some big decisions that we had made, bringing Jack de Belin in. Didn't go the best, a 46 score with a 61 average. It wasn't what I was hoping for. It was a pretty quiet game, but for him in a quiet one to get 46 didn't trouble me. Tallis Duncan got 51. I was really hoping for him to have a big score, and he got it for me. A bit worried about him going into this week, though, obviously, with playing probably a little bit less minutes with Cam Murray coming back into the rotation. It's definitely one to watch. Josh Curran, only 28. He obviously went off with a head injury. Didn't mention it in the review, and I apologize for that as well. Forgot about that one. Didn't add it to the notes, and obviously when it came to do the review, didn't mention it or said that he had some limited minutes and stuff like that. But obviously went off with a head knock there, and that's going to be interesting if he has the 11-day stand down, if he does miss 2 games of football or if it is just the one, but he has the bye anyway. So luckily for the Bulldogs, they don't miss him. But anyway, he's out. Obviously, Jamin Salmon, Matt Burton, both out this week as well. In terms of last week, Ruben Garrick had a massive week at right centre, 93. We had Rocco Berry. I didn't play him, but Rocco Berry got 84. He was not in my reserves or in my 17, which I was spewing about. Who else had a big week? I mean, Scott Drinkwater's scores going down, 45. Bit worried about that. At captain, huge play from myself. Jerome Hughes, 117. Captain Dim, he had a big score. 82 for Liam Henry, 103 for Adam Fanua-Blake. So some big scores, eventually getting us the 1,000 we were looking for. Very, very happy Going into this week, a few changes. Jeremy Marshall-King, he comes into the side at hooker. We see Angus Crichton and Nafa'u White come into the starting team as well. Jack de Belin goes to the bench. He's in my reserves, though. He's got the purple reserve tag. Tallis Duncan, he keeps his spot in the starting side. Matt Burton, obviously out, so his reserve card gets taken. Tamale Martin comes into the side as one of my trades. We'll talk about that in a second, but he is in the reserve jumper as well at 5'8". Blaze Talangi, he is also in the reserve jumper this week. We have another new fullback as well, and we'll talk about the advantages of bringing these two guys in. We sort of already touched on one of them, but another one is a bit of a rogie and could be a bit of a poach from myself and could go very well for me over the next few weeks. Now, so trades. Let's get straight into them. For this week, Lachlan Galvin and David Armstrong come out of my side. David Armstrong, obviously, he is going to potentially take up a deal with the Lee Leopards. It sounds like that deal is done for him to go to Lee Leopards at the end of the year. Obviously, we're supposed to re-sign with Newcastle, but it looks like that fell out. He's requested a release. Newcastle have reportedly accepted that request off the back of Fletcher Sharp and his performance, and obviously they're trying to keep Callum Ponga at the moment. And when you have two young great fullbacks, and Callum Ponga is getting injured a lot, it does probably take away a little bit of the confidence that Callum Ponga has of getting his spot back. And I know it might sound silly because it's Callum Ponga, but the Roosters are talking to Callum Ponga at the moment, and when they're getting in his ear telling him, they've got Fletcher Sharp, they've got David Armstrong there, which are the future. You could come over here and be the future of the Roosters. Obviously, James Tedesco over the next 3 years could retire, and he'll be the next big thing. He probably could play 6-2 after Luke Keary leaves at the end of the year. So obviously the Roosters really trying hard to get Callum Ponga. I'm hearing this deal is very, very close, and this deal is being talked about, especially from a few people inside the Roosters camp. We've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but won't really bring up too much unless there's some real juice there or if it's about to happen on the rumor mill. But back to SuperCoach and fantasy. In SuperCoach in particular, Galvin Armstrong. Armstrong obviously going to be leaving at the end of the year. He's not in the side at the moment. Fletcher Sharp's in there while KP's out. I think that Fletcher Sharp keeps his spot until KP returns. So Armstrong comes out for me. Galvin, as I said, with the arm injury, there's just no telling as to when he's going to come back, and I really don't like that uncertainty. And when I've got 23 trades, 21 now, but I had 23 trades then, including a boost that I'm going to save until right up until the end. I'm very happy to get Lachlan Galvin out of the side, and I'm going to be bringing in Tamale Martin, who we talked about. Great advantages, especially around the bye week, playing in both of the bye weeks. So really advantageous to bring him in. Jaden Campbell as well. He will be playing around that bye period. Obviously made a successful return from his knee injury as well. Slotted into the halves on Saturday afternoon and absolutely killed it. Plus, he's got goal kicking as well, which is a big thing for me. Just extra points there. I think that he is a great in. 75 points on the weekend, 51 average. I think that his break even just makes it even more attractive to bring him in this week. So Jaden Campbell, Tamale Martin are my ins. I'm umming and ahhing about playing Jaden Campbell this week. I'm umming and ahhing as to whether I'll play Jack de Belin or Jaden Campbell. That's going to probably be a decision that happens closer to kickoff, and I'll let you guys know about that. I don't think they play until later in the week. Anyway, we'll go back to this round as a Bottlemart app ad opens up, and I'm trying to access the NRL app. Love that. So the Dragons don't play until Sunday, and the Titans don't play until Saturday. So I've got a little bit of the weekend to suss out what I want to do there. But at the moment, Jack de Belin is in that reserve jumper. But as I said, any news like that you will get in the late mail. But there you go, guys. That is the drawing board for this week. As I said, Marshall King comes back into the side this week. We do see Terrell May get a reserve jumper back. Jack de Belin in the side at the moment. We'll and ah about that one. Tamale Martin and Blaze Talangi take up the other two bench spots. The side at the moment is Drinkwater at fullback. I've got Garrick, Farlongo, Iro, Berry in the starting side. Obviously, Berry comes into the starting side. Don't have too much choice. Armstrong out. Blaze Talangi already in the reserves anyway, so I'm going to get his points. Jamin Salmon by. Dylan Brown and Jerome Hughes in the halves. Hughes captain, Brown vice. We have Tamane Martin on the bench as well. Blaze Talongi on the bench. We have Angus Crichton, Nafa'u White, Tallis Duncan, Jack Jabellin at the moment on the bench. Josh Curran out of the starting side with a bye. Adam Fanua Blake and Liam Henry in the starting front row. Terrell May on the bench, front row. And then we have Jeremy Marshall-King coming back into the 17. So very confident about this week. I think we'll get around the 1,100 mark, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully a big week for Big LEZ'S League,